We think that we're supposed to know, but no, that's up here. But when you just know, when those cells light up, you just know that's a yes. It's like every cell lights up. And then you go, oh, wow, I can say yes to that. Right. And then immediately you'll begin to be challenged. But it is. And I think that's the thing too, the joy, just the joy and the beauty. You can't make it up, Zenka. You can't even make this up.
Welcome to the Holomovement Awaken Your Purpose Podcast, where we interview incredible people that are living and breathing their purpose. And you can too. If you would like to support this programming, drop us a like or leave us a review. Now let's dive in. Hi, everybody. My name is Zenka Caro, and my passion and purpose is to make the impossible possible. I am the founder of LightNet. I am the founder of the Holomovement Purpose Lab, and we are diving into this next episode with Gisele Bonenfant. Now, she is one of my dear friends, and of course, because she's the keeper of some of the most important knowledge in this town. As everyone knows, Sedona is full of some of the most famous consciousness researchers and spiritual leaders on the planet who have made their way through this town. Dawkins, Marco Rodin, Patrick Flanagan. I mean, you could go, the Her Talks, you could go on and on. But she has really set her life from a very early age at pioneering some of the most scientific, spiritual-based healing modalities and concepts on the planet. Over 20 years ago, she is the practitioner of a Vogel crystal bed, which is a Vogel cut crystal photonic triangulation unit, which is the official name. And she's going to tell you all about how she works with it using vibroacoustical sound as well. And this is all guided by her own guides and her own intuition that she has developed all of these fascinating modalities. In addition, she is the keeper of the Patrick Flanagan Library. As an archivist, her role is to bring scientists through the library, people that are curious, to learn about his life's work and learn about the science that is contained in these books, which really haven't even been scanned into the internet, which is partially why science has gotten off on some confusing assumptions that build upon each other in this error-filled understanding. But so she will talk about the importance of this incredible material of Patrick Flanagan, who is an inventor, who's invented some of the most sophisticated and futuristic devices on the planet, including communication with dolphins, neurophones, all sorts of things. And he used to read many books a night. But anyway, let's get into the interview. Gisele, what an honor to have you part of the Awaken Your Purpose podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Zenka. It's an honor and privilege to be here.
Yeah, you're such an important part of this community, and you're always there supporting these really incredible connections that happening because I've even witnessed, these, it's incredible how one book or one conversation can change someone's life or change technology or change an invention. And you've gotten to witness quite a few incredible things there at the library, right?
Yeah, for sure. It is an incredibly magical place. It is its own little vortex. Um, and magic happens here all the time.
Tell us a little bit more about your role as an archivist and also the future of the library and your vision and your life's work in being there.
So my role as an archivist, yeah, good question. The Flanagans, Stephanie and Patrick, were very good to me. And it started out that Patrick, they just wanted an inventory of Patrick's books. And they had kind of forgotten how many books that they had. And I've really been a bibliophile my whole life. And I had said, show me the books. And because they were good to me and I wanted to reciprocate. And went to the warehouse and there were 10 pallets of books. And I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out. So they brought 2 or 3 pallets. I did it in between other jobs I was working. After about a year, they were like, they were in Ecuador. We have no idea what you're doing and how you're doing it. send us a video. So picture 9,000 books all in boxes, and I can only reach the top box, and then another room where I'm doing my best to categorize them. And so that's really how it began, to answer that question. So I showed them how I was storing the information. And I was like, if you ever wanted to open it up into a library, there's a lending option here. And I think that planted the seed. But they're very generous people in their own right. They've been in this community a long time. They're the homestead is still in Cornville, just 20 miles southeast of Sedona. Patrick was very important to this community. And so they were like, okay, why are they going to go back in boxes? Let's share it. So they established this library, and it's been here since 2018. And what I really realized, you know, I logged every one of these books, and it's not all. This is just a portion. Patrick's whole library is 45,000. You really realize how there really is nothing new under the sun. And then because of the types of people that Patrick attracts, incredibly brilliant, cutting edge, right? And then so many will come in, and you realize it's this trying to reinvent the wheel, because there's already books here talking about it. Do you see what I mean? And this is why I think just libraries so important, especially in this time of great censorship. So it's been a true honor and a privilege to sit with these books. Well, since prior to 2018, I don't, this is when the library came into form here. Um, but yeah, and it's just attracted such amazing, brilliant souls. So that's really just from being in trial and loving books, and wanting to reciprocate, because it's like they were good to me, and how do I give back, right? It's that reciprocity is so important, and then just what can blossom from that. It's incredible.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Yeah, like you said, it's like the joys collided and then felt like the reciprocity was there. And
Yeah.
here it has become a big part of your life. And you guys have a really big vision going forward, because we've interviewed Stephen Ross on the show with the World Research Library, and he actually said the same thing as you. He's like, I'm kind of horrified because you've got all these people trying to invent all these things that have already been invented,
Yep.
and they just never read about them because they were censored in these books. And so it becomes like really an important process. And I know that your dream is to one day have them even scanned so that someone doesn't have to come to Sedona, actually sit with the information.
Yeah, for sure. And to have the best of both worlds, you can scan them, but also Sedona is known as such a mecca for spirituality, however you want to define that word, um, but for learning on all levels. Um, so why not? I really liken it, and it may sound grandiose or dramatic, but at this point, I say, but why not? And it's almost like rebuilding the Library of Alexandria bit by bit. And the first time I stepped into Stephen Ross's library, and it's so beautiful, such a beautiful space. I literally, my, I just welled up. I get emotional just thinking about it, because I was like, my God. And it's all here. It's all here. And because of the people who reside in Sedona have such an interest in these very eclectic, esoteric, scientific um, information and knowledge, there's so many private libraries that are here. Just go to a yard sale and go through the books. You'll be blown away. But so, how can we gather these books so they are all together and more people have access to them, not only if you're visiting Sedona, but um, throughout the world through scanning them. And it's just so important. So important.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And I love that you're working to expand this library, to bring the rest of the books out, to pull in all the other galleries, of the libraries from Creative Life Center, or Dr. All the Mark and all these different scientists that have come together because sharing this scarce knowledge has really, multi-million dollar companies have been founded in part because of the knowledge here in this library, right? I mean, these are powerful
And
new
that is not that
powers.
is that is not an exaggeration. That is truth right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really quite incredible, and how many other people out there under the radar who are working on these incredible inventions, I want reinventions, you know? And yeah, we're in a really amazing, amazing time. And it really truly is an honor and a privilege, a blessing to be on this planet at this time. That's how I see it. Other people will have a different perspective, but that's okay.
Yeah, so you've been helping a lot of different local scientists, and also really doing a lot of pioneering work yourself with technology and spirituality. Because the bed that you have is, as you'll tell everyone, a very rare, powerful prototype that doesn't really, I've experienced your bed and was blown away. I mean, by the bed and by your information that you wrote down for me. I mean, I've had life-changing experiences, and I happen to be on the other bed that you've tracked down 2 or 3 of these, and I also that was a life too. You've been a guardian. You're almost like a guardian of wisdom. How tell us how you would describe your purpose, and then tell us about this bed that you've been stewarding and guarding.
Oh, my purpose. Um, that's a really interesting question because I kind of just go through life, and so I'm not one of those big planners. But I it's a very interesting question. But I really truly think that one of my purposes is to really bring a lot of light, pun intended, but in a lot of humor to this whole genre or stage of spirituality. And sometimes it's like it can get so heavy and so serious. And the indigenous, right? It's like when the energy gets too intense, crack a joke, and it just brings everyone together. I swear that's when I always, always have that humor. But it seems, whether I intended to or not, um, I've just kind of always been there on that cutting edge, of going places where a lot of people just don't have an interest in going. And with the respect to the crystal bed, um, gee, how do I answer that in a short story? Um,
Well, start by telling everybody what it is because I kind
oh,
of
okay.
glossed over that
Yeah,
monster there of explanation because it's
yeah.
pretty
You
amazing.
you can actually see it over my this shoulder. I don't know, back there.
Uh,
So this is a Vogel, and so it's
72 angles, right?
no, this one
Oh,
is 13-sided,
depends. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
many, many cuts. No, you're right. So, a Vogel crystal, Marcel Vogel, you can look him up, worked for IBM, has over 100 patents to his name, never wanted to work with crystals. It came to him, then they kept coming to him, and he was like, "No, absolutely not doing it." But he did. And it came to him in a waking dream how to hand facet the crystal to maximize its potential. So, like, if you have just a regular crystal in its natural state, you would say the field is random. It's a random field. This, all based on the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, same angles as the Great Pyramid of Giza. So the energy comes in the female end. So there's two lights in the bed. You're asking how it works. There's 7 Vogel's in the light unit, basically aligned with the 7 major chakras. We know there's many more, but there's 2 lights in there. One is light, one is colored. The light comes in the female end, wraps around, spirals around, and every time it hits a facet, it magnifies and intensifies. So by the time it comes out the male end, we would call it laser light, which is why I dubbed it the crystal laser bed, because as you said, the official name is the Vogel Photonic Triangulation Unit. These were created by students of Marcel Vogel. They never really went into production. And by, when you say caretaker, guardian, gatekeeper, if I dare, whether it's with these books or with this unit, it's, I say this is a 21st century version of how we used to heal, with crystals, color, light, and sound. And so I also use a vibroacoustic sound table that was not part of the bed. I added that after I'd been working about a year with it, because sound is so important. So to me, this is what we used to do, but we would go into natural crystalline caves. So, and what did the body need? Did it need sapphire? Did it need citrine? Did it need quartz? Did it need lapis? And did you need sunlight or moonlight? So to me, this is the 21st century version of it. I don't say this to a lot of people, but I would say it here. You can edit it out if you want. But it also feels it's very off planet as well. This would be very either Atlantean or just off planet. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's so fascinating, and it speaks to your curiosity, and I think that's what we're asking the world to do in this series, in this podcast, is to really find those threads of curiosity. And so yours has really overlapped these genius scientists and these in service of like big leaps in evolution, significant evolutionary leaps, whether it's free energy devices, which are happening as a result or of the library, or incredible healing modalities that are.
And I say this with all humility. I mean, I really do. I was saying this yesterday to somebody. It's like sometimes I sit here and I'm like, how does this happen? Like, how does it happen that, you know, that I'm surrounded by these incredible minds? And, I managed below Melchizedek's office for 3 or 4 years, or then there's Patrick, then there's Marco Rodin, and yes, even if Marcel Vogel, who was really just amazing. And I will say something else about, because it's very important, is that he was such a genius, Marcel, and he knew the power of these crystals. So a true Vogel, just because it's a Vogel cut, does not mean it's a true Vogel. You have to know who hand faceted it. There's only so many people on the planet who are trained to do that. But a true Vogel is programmed to self-destruct if there is any any intent to use it not in a good way. And that's how brilliant Marcel Vogel was. I mean, one of the things, because he knew how powerful they were. And so that's why this bed is incredibly safe. I've been working with it for, 20 years or so. Yeah. And can I say one more thing about manifesting? How it how it came about. And so, because I know you're big on this, your Mission Mondays, and what is it that you want to put out into the field, right? And because it's a feedback loop, right? It's a big copy machine, how mindful we have to be. And so the thing is, I was with a Weechel shaman in Shasta when I came across this bed. It's probably 20 years ago or so. I really don't know time. But I had just been, the law firm, top 5 Boston law firm, had just dissolved. You're talking, 800 people. Anyway, I'd been there for 17 years. I won't get into the details, but I'm like, that's it. I'm out. I'm out. Everybody else went to other law firms. I'm like, not doing it. I'm out. went to Shasta with Brant Secunda, brilliant soul, talk about humor. And all my prayers. So I just knew that I wanted to do something different. I had been studying energetic work for probably at least 10 years, all sorts of different modalities. So there is something to be said about being very, very specific about what you want. I want a red car or this or that or a house on a lake, whatever. There is something to be said about being very specific. I don't take that away. In this case, what was so interesting is that I was not specific at all. All of my prayers, we were there 4 days, 3 nights, 5 days, I can't remember. You know, all of our prayers, all of our ceremonies, right? And it was, I just wanted to work with something different. I'm like, I didn't want it, nothing, yoga or Reiki, that was all of my prayers. And we had so many amazing experiences at Shasta, right? Those were all my prayers. I just wanted something different. That's how vague it was. I had never, and we went in, there's a store in Shasta City, Crystal Wings, Bill Hurley, student of Marcel Vogel. You can get true Vogels there. Shout out to Crystal Wings. We went to this little store, me and my friend, and the crystal bed there. And she had a section on the crystal bed. And at that, they just put you on the bed and sort of just left you, right? And I didn't even have a session because, I mean, we were doing sweats at high noon. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm like, I'm all set. I never even had a session. And she just came out and she was like, oh my God, if we had something like that back east and blah, blah. Came home, researched crystal beds, could only find John of God. Like, I'm not going to Brazil. I did go to Brazil, but anyway. And I don't know. She calls me up one day and she's like, Bill is thinking about selling the crystal bed. Why don't you call him? And this is when talk about this segues. Why I'm telling you this, Zenka, is it's very important. It segues. It's part of everything that you're talking about, because I called Bill. I had no business. I was collecting unemployment. I had never collected unemployment in my life. I was the primary breadwinner for in the relationship I was in at that time. I call Bill. I know how important this is to him. I intuitively know. And I go, I hear you just thinking about it. I just want to let you know I'd be interested. Like, I'm sure that I imagine that there are many people who are interested in this bed. And like, it has to, you know, I just want to let you know that I'm potentially one of those people, but I totally respect whoever you choose for this, right? And I'll never forget. He paused and he said, "No, it's yours." But when Holly called and she said he's thinking of selling the bed, it's like every cell in my body, like lit up and screamed. I get goose just thinking about it, because when you get a yes, your body is telling you, and so it makes no sense logically, right? I wasn't working, I was collecting unemployment, and I was going to collect that unemployment till that little box ran out with no money in it. I'd never, but every cell in my body said, "Yep, go and do it," even though it didn't make sense. And it has been one of the best teachers. I've sat with some pretty amazing people, gurus and shamans and medicine men, and all beautiful and amazing. And this has been one of the most pivotal teachers in my life. So if we can just go with it and not kind of think about it too much, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and there was no manual. There was nothing. Because I was gonna go to Shasta to pick it up. For some reason, I didn't. He mailed it to me. Mailed the crystals and the lights, whatever. I set it up in my house, and then I got scared. So this helped somebody. I got really scared because it brought up all the cellular memory of how much trouble we had gotten into with crystals, right? And I had to sit with that. I had to sit with that. And then the only place to go is into your heart, you know, and you go in your heart, that purity of the heart and what that intent is. And then I'd call Bill. He'd be like, Gisele, just work with it. He's like, the crystals are going to start talking to you. I'm like, no, I don't hear crystals talking to me. He'd be like, you're fine. And I just slowly, I put friends and family and, you know, it's been a ride. It's been a ride. At the time, I'll add this piece also about listening. I was taking a 2-year shamanic training course, core shamanic. So in all shamanic traditions, there are core um, principles, or your soul retrieval, your power animal retrieval, your psycho comp. There's core practices, right? So after the first year, I was like, it was hard, man. It was hard. And I'm like, not doing it. Not doing year 2. And then you get the message. I could tell you exactly how it happened, but it kind of doesn't matter. But that last class, I was determined. I'm not doing it, man. It's too hard. And the message was so clear. There was not even any gray area. No gray area. Well, I'll tell you, we had to pair up with somebody, and we had to have a question. I had to have a question, and you're going to journey for me, and you're going to find the answer. But you don't know my question, right? And that person came back, and I can't remember exactly. There was no gray area, and I was like, "Gotta be kidding!" So I did, because I get into trouble when I don't listen to those messages, and I was really glad that I did, because I would see things with this bed that if I hadn't taken that training, I wouldn't know what that was or how to deal with it. So we're just, led. It's like we're thrown this little breadcrumb, and do we pick it up or not? Do we follow it or not? And we have no idea where it's going to lead, right? But here I am, you know.
This is so hilarious because we're following the pattern that was discovered, the disruption. You leave your job in the law firm, and then you're searching, you find a thing, and then you don't know what
You don't know what you're searching for.
yeah. I mean, my prayer was always in my life. I didn't necessarily know what my purpose was, but I knew that I wanted to meet the smartest people on the planet because I knew that brought me a lot of joy. Because I get really excited when I meet smart people like you, and like, okay, so that's my number one up there, and that's truly what happened. Like I have jewels of these like soul friends, these souls out there that I've gotten a chance to meet, but the point is that what I wanted to double click on was the fact that you got your purpose with the bed, part of your purpose, and then you didn't know what you're doing. And that's actually what happens so many times because you've repressed so much of who you are by the time you grow up that you don't even know. And so sometimes you have no even like any experience writing a song. You're supposed to be, or whatever it is. So it's like you starting zero and no one believes in you. No one is going to cheer you on because they're like, well, they don't see you knowing anything. And that's that step where you just keep going step by step. And then you did keep going.
Yeah. And
Kept
even
going.
this, yeah, I mean, back east, Massachusetts, back east, they're like, "You doing what? Like, what do you have?" Like, "Yeah, it's a crystal bed." "Yeah, what do you do with that?" "No, just come. Just come. Try it out," you know? It's funny, and this is why the humor is so important, or we think that we're supposed to know, but no, that's up here. But when you just know, when those cells light up, you just know that's a yes. You know what I mean? Waited for years to like be invited to a plant medicine ceremony that I could say yes to. I mean, come on, you could do, and never. And it's like it's like every cell lights up. And then you go, "Oh, wow, I can say yes to that," right? And then immediately you'll begin to be challenged. But it is, and I think that's the thing too, the joy, just the joy and the beauty. You can't make it up, Zenka. You can't even make this up. If you try. But I guess we did. And then we did make it up. We did make it up. We're still making it up.
I love that because I can so identify. You're like, oh my God. And then the door opens, you're like all excited. And then it's like, oh, then there's like challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you have to do it again and again.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure. It's brilliant. And that's, I said, the great architect. I mean, good Lord, like the mind on that one, you know,
So,
and we're all part of it.
so Gisele, I want to get into some of the other questions.
Oh,
But I wanted you to close a little gap that we have for the audience here. Can you just briefly describe Patrick Flanagan's work, just like why you love his work and who he was at the time he was and what he, why you feel he's so special?
it's a great question. And, you know, I was probably in Patrick's presence. I could count on one hand. I have just, he just, it's so interesting because I just love him so much. And I have this, I feel like this protectiveness around him, you know, but who he was, you know, boy genius, came in conscious and aware. He was like, I'm an infant. I have to grow this body. Like taking apart his father's wristwatch at the age of 3 and putting it back together at the age of 9 for statewide. I might have the ages a little bit off, but not much. Um, Built for a statewide science fair, built a missile detection system. So this is in the late 50s. So if a missile went off anywhere on the planet, it would be detected. And not only would that be detected, but also secret atomic testing, because it's like the waves that come off the missiles or whatever. So needless to say, he won the state science fair. That put him on the front page of the newspaper, and that caught the attention of the Pentagon. So there's a story that Patrick says he goes to school the next day, and over the loudspeaker they say, you know, Patrick Flanagan, please come to the office. You know, the Pentagon's on the phone. And there was this 5-star general on the phone. And they were like, how much did it cost you to make this? And he was like, $5. He's like, if I would have had 20. Anyway, so then at the age of 11, 13, built the Neurophone. I feel like this is an infomercial. Yeah.
You fact.
And this is a device that Patrick, this is a device that balances the right and left hemisphere of the brain. So we know when we're meditating, that's that state that we want to get to. It creates coherence, and it also is used to accelerate intellect and learning. So if you're wearing it and you're reading or studying, the information goes directly to the long-term memory. Usually, I guess it just goes to the short-term memory. It stimulates the saccules, so the nerve endings of the saccules. And please forgive me, I'm not going to get this 1,000% right, but you can research this. And that's how mammals, dogs, and dolphins code and decode information. And so it's meant to be worn consistently. And so if you were to wear it enough, those nerve endings would get so highly sensitive that one could potentially become telepathic. There were experiences of that in the beginning when he was running so much voltage through it. But it's also, if you input audio, you will hear inside your head. So also as a learning device, so if you wanted to learn a second language or whatever you wanted to learn, just wear it. And it's very, very, very subtle. It's very, very interesting. And if you move those sensors around, they're usually on the forehead because the bone is the conductor. But like if you move it to the clavicle, say, you'll like hear from the clavicle. So needless to say, once he filed that patent, you know, they certainly knew they had something. Um, to me, it's almost like it's the forerunner to the voice to skull technology. It's not what Patrick intended it for. You know, he intended it for higher learning and higher consciousness, but you can research the Neurophone if you like, but because there's so much more to Patrick. In the 70s, he wrote Pyramid Power, that put him on the map, went to Egypt 40 something times. He was slept in the king's chamber, and did a lot of work with water. And so the father, I can never say his name right, the father of fluid dynamics, Kwanda, here's a picture of Patrick way back in the day. He had done a lot of research with water, and it's the longevity of the Hunza people, why they live to 100, and it's the quality of the water. And so Kwanda knew that he would not live long enough to continue his research. So he handed over everything to Patrick and said, continue this work. And so Patrick's products, and I don't mean to be like an infomercial, but sometimes it's good for visuals. The mega hydrate and the crystal energy changes the surface tension of water to make water wetter. And so some people, it's not what we eat, it's what we drink. So, and just many, many other things, just an amazing, brilliant soul. You know, he had polio as a child, so his legs stopped growing. So he was short in stature and that led him to health and control of the body and the energetics of the body. You know, like I've had people say that there are people twice his size, and once he was in that place, you couldn't even begin to touch him. He had such incredible control um, over his body, over his energetics. So, and then that's it in a nutshell. I mean, you could go on and on. Worked with the Navy and the language of dolphins. That's not a place I really like to go. So, but if you want to research it, you can find out stuff and just a big part of Sedona and the community here. You know,
Yeah.
so it's a big life and just a beautiful soul and just this is what amazed me. His IQ was it was hard to what do you say? Calibrate or identify.
Yeah.
Yeah, the because he was so off the charts. But anytime I saw Patrick, I don't know how he could always meet people wherever they were. You know what I mean? Like it was in such a great sense of humor. You know, just amazing. So there's so much more to his life, but that's a little bit anyway.
Wow, wow. I'm looking forward to the library project continuing on to really honor his life too and because he sounds like such a unique, unusual trailblazer.
Yeah.
And it really is impressive. Every single, and like these geniuses, they're experts in water and dolphins and this and that. So it's really incredible. So going back to the point of why we're here, which is to encourage everyone that's listening
Mm.
to have the courage, because courage is like pretty much on the top of the list of the courage. But what was the biggest struggle you faced over the years in living your purpose?
That's a really good question. It's a really good question. Um, in all honesty, if you're looking, it can be lonely. It can be lonely. And you can find that, people just I don't know, we're a minority is what it feels like. I'd like to think maybe not anymore, but especially in the earlier days when you don't know, you're just like, why am I not I'm not interested in God, in what a lot of other people are interested in, especially, I mean, you're in Boston, you're working with high powered attorneys, there's a piece of your soul that's screaming, God, no. You know, you're very grateful for the income and what it can, but it to simply put, it can be really lonely at times. You can feel not understood. You can be in a room full of people and still feel incredibly alone, or maybe that's just me, you know? Okay, thank you for that. Well, there's 2 of us. Oh, it's like, and you just kinda have to go along, "Okay, where'd you go for dinner?" or "What movie did you see?" And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all, nothing wrong. And I'm sure I've had plenty of those lifetimes. But so I think it can be a lonely path. The thing about Sedona is, I sorta liken it to the land of misfit toys, we just don't we live in this bubble and we might not really fit into that outer reality so well, or I speak for myself. But, we have I think most of us have these beautiful hearts and we all find each other. And it's really just so amazing. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that I caught myself in the comedy the other day when I was like grieving the fact that no one understood me and that they couldn't relate to me and I can't even talk about the metaverse and all the this and that and like because no one even like blank, whatever. And then I was like, so I'm basically complaining about that to the world, to the universe. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you wanted to be on the edge of the frontier. Like that's
Yeah.
your happy place. I was like, oh yeah, you can't do both at the same time.
No.
You can't have it goes together. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
So, you're like at the front of the plow. You're here at the front of the plow. And you're like mowing through, I say, you're just mowing through it all, in creating this beautiful wave, I'd like to think, on a good day anyway. Maybe maybe some days it's not. Maybe it's a tsunami, I don't know. But yeah, you're on the edge of that. You're on the forefront. You're on literally on the cutting edge, whatever that may be, whether it's what you do or whether it's the crystal bed or, there's more of them out there now. But eh, this is like the grandfather, the grandmother, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, the mainstream is catching up, and that's why we have places like Sedona, because
yeah,
you meet all your people, and that's why we have the Holomovement, and, we just launched a new, um, site called the Holos as part of the holomovement.net, and it allows people to find each other. Like, it actually it's these scientific, high conscious people that are looking for each other and now looking to bring a bigger invitation to the bigger world.
yeah.
So, what advice would you have, Giselle, to people that are not really sure what excites them, what's going on, like where their heart comes alive and where their purpose is? Yeah.
Another great question, Zenka, because, you know, lately I sort of say, just stop giving advice, Giselle. Just stop, you know? Um, because what works for me might not work for somebody else. But what I will say is that we do all have this, in whatever you want to call it, this internal GPS. Sometimes I call it a barometer, or it's a North Star. However you want to refer to it, it's our connection to the divine, our connection to our higher self, however you want to word it. We all have it. And my best advice is to really truly pay attention to that, even if it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, why would I take out a credit card to pay for that? When the advice is to pay attention to that, because really it's the only time when I get into trouble is when I don't listen to it. And we all have it. And I think so we can tend to dismiss it or ignore it or go, oh, that's crazy. Or so, maybe it's intuition, whatever you want, you know, but to really, it's our guide. It's our guide. We don't really have a user's manual. for planet Earth, but we have the original template. Or you've been to Colombia with the coat, you know, you know the original blueprint, the original template. It's there somewhere. Just pay attention and listen. Really pay attention. What does it feel like? It's not it's not here. What does it feel like? And listen. Pay attention. That's my best advice, I think.
I love that because that's like not that goes along with what you're saying about the beyond logicness of it, because it's like you're saying, oh, essentially you're saying listen to your body, which is, some people have said that, but I don't think it's been said to the extent appropriateness because you're right. Your body is giving you, like, when I get chills or whatever, and that's the thing, sometimes your stomach knows, like sometimes your meat suit is a little bit less aware. And it's interesting that you said Patrick Flanagan had, the balancing the right and the left and being able to be telepathic, and how he was all booky. So you don't think of him as being in his like interested in the body very much, because he's science. But how interesting that he was obsessed with that too, and how that's how we get our information. Like if we're not caring for our body, how are we gonna get them? So it's that's such a powerful thing because you don't need a complicated instruction manual to listen to your body.
No, and I think this is this is something about the heart. There are, I think, Greg Braden for sure talks about this. Bruce Lipton, I would think, talks about it. John Below talks about it. There are literally brain cells in the heart. We have it backwards. I always say it's a totally backwards planet. You can't even look in the mirror and see yourself as you truly are. It's flipped, right? Everything is back, right? Everything is backward. And so we're meant to be here, right? They say that's the longest journey, right? The 12 inches or whatever but we're meant to be here. This is the longest journey because we're meant to be here, but it all got twisted. And so now, we're here, but, and, John Below, this is the place where we create. We truly, I get the thing about the secret and all of that, but this is where the Kogi would say this, I would imagine as well. This is the place where we create because it's not polarized. The brain is polarized, has a right and a left hemisphere. The heart is not polarized. So be careful if you're creating from here. Not to say you can't create from here. I think sometimes people do, but they get themselves can potentially get themselves into trouble. But if you're really truly creating from here, and that's why, and again, I say this with all humility. It's like, sure, I'll log your books because I love books and I want to give back because it's reciprocal. But then it's not for me other than for my love of books. But you know what I'm saying? It's here. It's all here. We're just, oh boy. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and the ironic part is that I think something weird happens when you go into your heart that actually produces a different reality, in which case that's the way we live our dreams, by literally changing the electromagnetic clarity of who's drawn to us, who's pushed away from us, who's, like you said, it's like all these people get drawn to you because of your equipment and the library and your interest in everything. So it's like the clearer the signal, the more miraculous the show.
yeah. And is that not what heart math speaks about? And from the funny, well, no, and that's, Marco Rodin, the toroidal field, right? The coil. We're really just, that's all we are. We're just big coils, right? So it's so fascinating.
So
Yeah.
Gisele, I know, right? Oh my God. So Gisele, what What benefit do you feel, what effect do you feel like you've had on other people by living your life's purpose as a coil?
You're just coming out with good ones, Zenka. You're just coming out with good ones. This is something that I say a lot, and I've said it for a really long time because we have no, this is me, I can only speak for myself. We have no idea, I think, how we affect other people. And if you think about it, like, I think I have no idea really kind of how people perceive me. I think we're so skewed. We're inside this meat suit, right? Like you say, we're just inside here, right? So, I don't know. I'd like to think that I would be an example of just do what it is, that you love, be in the moment. And I always say, just be in the moment. There really is no place, there is no place else to go. Like anyway, my mind is going in so many different directions right now. But I don't know, how can we really know the impact that we have on people? And again, and I say this with all humility, it's like we could do something that we have no idea. It could be so insignificant. It could just be smiling at someone, or just, I don't know, letting somebody cut in front of you. And can be something that's so small, or we don't even think that it's anything. And someone could just say, "Oh my God, that changed my whole day." Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, so
Perfect.
I think the only thing I know how to be is me, to be as authentic as I possibly can, and not to say I don't have my stuff. Trust me, I do. I do. But am I making any sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't really know. How can we really know? And this is why I think, not that I'm looking to get to the other side anytime soon, but I think that the day that we die must be one of the most amazing things, because we're like, oh my God, that's what was happening. That's what was happening, or that's how people perceived me, or I had no idea, right? It's like, wow, now I finally get it.
The cosmic joke of the great mystery reveals
Yeah.
itself.
So I don't know. You know, I see people, so many just striving, wanting to get somewhere. Where? Where are you going? Where are you going? Because then when you get there, there's just going to be. I had this conversation yesterday. I'm like, where is there to go? There's really nowhere to go. Everything's inside of us, right? There's really nowhere to go. And if you look at the word nowhere, it's now here. So you're already there. You're there. Just keep doing whatever it is you're doing. You'll be fine. This is the humor.
I realized, dating first and I, the other day, we realized that make believe is
Yeah.
how if you believe something, you will make it in your
Yep.
reality. So make believe is actually the way to do reality. But anyway,
No, and I agree with that 1,000%. I agree with that. You just pretend, because that's all we're doing anyway. I think we're just pretending. Or you could just be a big pretendian, but we're all in a way pretending. I think Gisele was absolutely right. Just and I like make believe, right? Is that what you said? Make believe.
huh,
I like that better than I don't necessarily like the term fake it until you make it. I like that wording better. Like, just make believe,
yeah,
because
you
it
believe.
all has to start there
Right.
with a thought. I love it. And I'm sure Standing Bear is having a great time where he is.
He's like turned into an eagle buffalo. He's just like flying everywhere,
Yeah.
running around like almost like those genies in the bottle where you're just like very capable, like a wizard kind of.
Yeah. But while we're here, we'll do the best we can.
Yeah. So, um, the last question is really, what do you think the world would look like if a majority of people were living their purpose?
Well, it would certainly, certainly be a much different place. It would certainly be a much different place. It's, what it say about the crystal bed and the chakras. If we were all walking around with perfectly balanced energetic field, what would the world look like? People would be living, their purpose, right? So I think and this is also what I think or believe, no, perhaps, is that it is already happening. There are already pockets, right, of that happening, of people existing and living their purpose. So in a way, Sedona is a bit of it, right? But at the same time, we're in a duality, or Marco would say not, it's a trinity, but for lack, right? So we're in a that's the 3D reality. We're in a polarized environment. So as long as you're existing in that paradigm, there's always going to be people who are living their purpose and those who are not, because that's the nature of that reality, right? But when we can move through that into higher places, we will find more people, or we do find more people who are living their purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, well, everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? As wherever you might be in
Yeah.
the whole thing. So do you have any final words that you want to leave with people before we go and let everyone know where to find you and how to connect?
Just follow the breadcrumbs. And I'm so grateful to you, Zenka. Thank you so much. Yeah, this usually isn't my thing. So thank you for pushing me, because this really is a push for me. Um, I'm like, okay, I'll show up and see what happens. And I think it's just follow the breadcrumbs, Jess, and really, truly, focus on the good. It doesn't mean that you have to, put your head in the sand and not know what's going on in the outer reality. But, I always get this wrong. Christ said to be in the world or in awe of it, or however that saying goes, you know, and just that's what the Creator wants for us. That's what the Creator wants for us. So you cannot make it God, whatever you want, make it be about the Creator. We can get stuck in, and I speak for myself, get stuck in our own little whatever. Think about what the Creator wants for us, right? And that's our gift back. Just follow the breadcrumbs. Hansel, Gretel. I don't know.
Thank you so much, Giselle. I really loved this interview, and I'm so glad that you agreed to do it. And I know you're gathering resource and collaboration on the library expansion. So if people are listening and are passionate about this man, this woman, this concepts, these ideas, and this, I really do think that scanning these books would be a huge gift to the world and goes toward your original idea of, hey, why are we putting these back on the boxes? Why not just put them up on the shelf? So this would be the next step to that huge gift that he was. And the ironic part is, despite how many years have gone by since his passing, he's still so far ahead of the future that these books are are really going to be important for a while to come.
For
So
sure.
thank you so much, Gisele, for all you're doing. And can you tell us how to find you in the library?
The library, you can go to patrickflanaganlibrary.com. Patrick, as you would normally, PATRICK FLANAGAN, library.com. And there's a video archive page and a document archive page. When we find videos of Patrick, we put them up. And for myself, you can go to, it's so funny, I don't even, it's crystalllaserbed.net, I believe. I don't even pay attention to it. Or email crystalllaserbed@gmail.com. You
Yeah,
can find.
I'll just find you. I was just gonna say they find you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Gisele, for everything you're doing and for joining us today.
Thank
We
you for everything you're doing, Zenka. Really, truly. Patrick would love it. All of it. Well, I'm sure he does.
right. Yeah, you talk to him quite often, so that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for this very special episode. We'll see you next week on the Awaken Your Purpose podcast. Thank you for joining us today. It is our goal to give you the courage to begin to identify your passion and live your purpose for the sake of yourself and for the sake of us all. Over the course of this multi-year collaboration and research project, we have identified patterns and a 7-stage process that many people go through on their way to living their purpose. If you'd like to browse our archive or figure out what stage you're in, head over to holomovement.net/purpose. If you would like to browse our living library of resources, or if you found your purpose and want to contribute what worked for you, head over to lightnet.org/purpose. And as Mark Twain used to say, the most important day of your life is the day you're born and the day you figure out why. You're not alone. We will look forward to helping you on this incredible journey. This has been a collaboration between Holomovement, LightNet, and incredible people like yourself. Special thanks to Good of the Whole. We'll see you next time.